Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be playing D-Day at Saipan from Decision Games. This is the fifth game in the D-Day at series from Decision. The series was begun and originally designed by John Butterfield. He did 3 games: D-Day at Omaha Beach, D-Day at Tarawa, and D-Day at Peleliu. My previous experience with this series was with D-Day at Tarawa, a game I found really good and enjoyable, and also extremely difficult. Joe Youst took over for the 4th game, D-Day at Iwo Jima. That one got mixed reviews. Some people didn't like the fact that the fire dots were removed from the map. Those are back in this game, in D-Day at Saipan. There were some other changes that people weren't real fond of. They took out the fact that all the U.S. units had 2 counters, one with 4 steps on one side, 3 on the other, and then a second one that had 2 and 1 step sides. They've now been replaced by counters that are step reduction counters. So the counters for the US units have a 4-step side and a 2-step side, and then when they take a loss, you draw a counter from a cup, which is what I'm doing. Draw it out of a cup, and it'll tell you what support weapons your company is keeping, and it'll mark it as either being a 3-step or 1-step, depending on which side you are and how many losses you've taken, of course. So it's a little different. It's not as ideal. I liked having just 1 counter. I think that was true for a lot of people. I suspect it was done to make it a little bit easier on Decision cost-wise. It's less counters to print if you're not double printing all the US units to handle the step reduction. But I feel like it loses a little bit of it. I guess the upside, if you want to look for an upside, is that you get some randomization in with what type of support weapons are available as you take step losses. So I'm not going to go too deep into any other preliminary stuff. I want to get right to the action here. Typically, you would have seen on the map in previous games some of the turn track, phase track, etc. You draw a card, you discard it, and it would all be on the map board. This game, we do not have that. We have the map. Saipan was a fairly large island. Not the entire island is shown on the map, but obviously premium space was at a premium for this map, and they did not put the turn track, phase track, etc., or sequence track, whatever you want to call it, on the board here. I have several player aids that include a Saipan holding box display, a D-Day at Saipan turn sequence track, and another card that has D-Day at Tarawa turn track, the US record track, and the Japanese reserve pool. I've also lined up my units for the upcoming turns. This is obviously turn 1. I've lined up my landing units for the Americans for turns 2, 3, and 4. Those first 4 turns are the first day of the invasion, which was June 15th, 1944. I'm going to get started here. So it's a card-driven game. We have a deck of cards. These cards will determine everything. So there's no dice in this game. It's a completely diceless game. You draw a card for everything. You draw a card for events. You draw a card for Japanese actions. You draw a card for fire results. You draw a card to find out which units the Japanese are firing at, and so on and so forth. So the first thing you do in every turn is the landing sequence, the amphibious phase. So we have beaches here that you can see. Each beach is a box. In previous games, you would roll each landing craft individually, and they could drift side to side, so you could end up on a different hex. In this game, you draw a card for each beach box, and that'll tell you your drift. It'll also tell you what kind of fire you're taking as you're coming in, and you may have units that will be reduced due to that fire. So I'm going to draw my first card here. And as you can see, this card has a lot of different things on it. So landing phase is at the top, and then we have events. Then you have a close combat event, and then you would have, these are used for Japanese firing. And then you have artillery at the bottom, and this number is just the number of the card. There are 55 cards, 54 of them our game cards. One is just a U.S. action summary card that is not part of the deck we use. So when we look at this card here, you see at the top you have a colored symbol, and that's, I would say, yellow. I'm going to call that yellow. Any yellow Japanese infantry or Japanese unit rather on the map that's adjacent has a firing dot in red beach number 2, which is where we're starting, is going to hit any unit that has the triangle symbol. Each of the American units will have a symbol on it that will indicate what they are as far as being a target. It's like a target activator. Then you also here have the drift. So we have the 2 divisional symbols for the two Marine divisions in this operation. The top one is the 2nd Marine Division, the one that's a diamond with a 4 in it. That is the 4th Marine Division. So any units with this card that are in the 2nd Marine Division are going to take 2 drifts to the left, which isn't possible from Red Beach 2. They can only go to Red Beach 1. So they will actually drift 1 to the left. And any 4th Marine Division units would have no drift at all. And so just so you can see what a unit looks like, so here we have a unit counter. So this counter is the G Company of the 2nd Battalion, 6th Marine Regiment, and that's part of the 2nd Marine Division. And you can see the circle symbol, that's its symbol. And the 7 is its firing strength, and the 2 is its range. Okay, so, and this is 4 steps, and if I flip it over, you see the other side, this is the 2-step side. So if it took a loss, we would draw a chit that would say step -1, and it would be the 3-step one. And it would also indicate over here where you see BR and DE. Those are the support weapons that this company would have. BR is the Browning, and the DE is demolitions. What we have to do now is we know that yellow, and we have yellow, there's a yellow dot here, and we do have a yellow Japanese unit right here. Japanese units in this game all start as unrevealed. We don't know exactly what this guy is, but he's firing into this landing area, and he's going to hit anybody who has a triangle, such as this guy right here. This is a landing craft with a triangle, so that's going to take a hit. And then you just kind of, since it's second, it's going to slide this way. And it's going to go and hit. You can select any of the beach hexes to land on. So anything with an arrow is a beach hex. You can land them there. This guy has a diamond, so he's not hit. So we're going to go there. I'm being aware of stacking limits here. So I'm putting generally 1 infantry company in each one, because you can stack 2, but you take disruption if you do so. So this one does not. Neither of these has the triangle, so they're not damaged. They go up there. Then we have this guy here, Company F. He has the triangle, so he is going to get reduced as well. So they go there, and we put that on top. And then I go and I draw a chit that will indicate that Company F now has 3 steps. I'll just grab my cup here, draw out a chit, and this chit indicates that you have step loss 1, so it shows 3 steps there, and it has bazooka, machine gun, and Browning as its support weapons. A full-strength infantry company has all the support weapons, and I won't list them now, but they'll come up in gameplay, and you'll see what that means. So we just repeat that process over and over again for the entirety of the landing. Okay. All right, so our secondary landings of these engineer units happen at the end of the U.S. action phase, which will be coming up after the Japanese fire phase, which is where we are right now. Okay, so for the Japanese fire phase, we do the same thing. We draw a card, and we look at the symbols. Now these are the events, and this would have been the event phase, but we don't have an event phase on the first turn. So you're looking at the colors here. So we have yellow, blue, green, and that's the symbol for the American unit. Now, the symbol only matters for like priority. It comes into play basically in determining who gets hit, because each unit can only hit 1 target. So the priority target for the Japanese would be the triangle. So we have to go through and we look for any yellow, blue, or green dots that are around a Japanese position. So if we just started down here, for example, okay, you see there's a yellow dot and a blue dot here. And our yellow position is here, so that's empty. But the blue, where's the blue? Is it this one? I don't even see the blue position. That's interesting. It must be this guy, because he may have an advantageous location. So anyway, anybody in a blue is an available target, and the priority would be somebody with the triangle symbol, which would be this unit right here. So they're going to take a hit. Okay, so they're taking a hit, and so they get a step loss. And now that accounts for that unit's fire. So that blue one has already hit somebody. So this guy here is safe from the blue. And the yellow, as we saw, is empty. So then we look at, we're looking for yellow or green or another blue. And so here's another blue on this side. Now the dot, the side the dot is on will tell you where the fire is coming from. So since this dot here, sorry, I'm like botching all these guys up here. Since the dot in this one is basically pointing in this direction, that indicates it came from that hex. And the blue here is coming from this hex. So this is the fire from this hex. And now it's going to hit somebody, and it's going to hit, it doesn't, you need a star to hit a headquarters. So it's going to hit this unit here. And we're going to, again, take, or is that right? Or was it this one? No, it was, maybe it was this one. Now I forget if I took these out of the headquarters were in the middle. I remember that. I always did that because I wanted my headquarters adjacent. So this unit already took a hit because it took a hit on the landing. So we're going to flip it now. And now it's got 2 steps left. We can put this back. We've got 2 steps left. So both of these units have now been reduced. And now that blue one's fire has been accounted for as well. We move on to our next area here. So we do have a yellow here. They have a triangle, so they're going to take a step loss. Okay, so rather than make you watch all the figuring it out, the way it works is you look here. I've applied everything already, so for time's sake, I decided not to show me putting all the chits down and everything. So you look at the colors first, and we got yellow, blue, green. So you look at the dots in the hexes that have American units in it. And then there's a chart which determines what happens. So in turn 1, which is where we are right now, and things change as the game moves on. But in turn 1, basically, it goes with, it fires if there's a unit adjacent. If there's an American unit adjacent, it's a fire. The Japanese unit fires. The priority is the unit that has the symbol. If that gets hit with steady fire, which is what the completely filled circles represent. So the dot that's completely filled, that's steady fire. Dots that aren't completely filled is intense fire is the solid dot. Steady fire is the not completely filled dot. If they're hit by intense fire and they have the symbol, they get a step loss and a disruption. If they don't have the symbol, they just get a step loss. So long story short, a lot of the American units took a step loss due to Japanese fire, which you would expect, being out on the beach and exposed, etc., etc. Virtually every dot along the beach is a solid dot that has, and in fact, all of them are, that has, well, I guess there's one up here, but that's not really a beach hex. So all of these will draw fire of some kind. Your only hope is really to get one that doesn't have the color. So blue was one of the colors here, but if blue was not one of the colors and neither was brown or red, so say it was yellow and something else, or here would be a better example since there's only 2 dots. It's possible that you might not have the dot that has these colors, and then you don't get hit. So after the fire phase, we go to the second event phase, which doesn't take effect until turn 5. So now we go to the US action phase. So the way the US action phase works is all units within range of their undisrupted headquarters may perform actions in the free actions. So those are called free actions, essentially. And then you get 3 actions for each division. So the 2nd Marine gets 3 actions, and the 4th Marine Division gets 3 actions of its own. So obviously here's the 4th Marine Division. That's these beaches, and the 2nd Marine Division are those beaches up there. So they'll each get 3 actions that aren't free. What I did though was I tried to stack these in the landing so that the headquarters is in the middle. With the headquarters in the middle, all of these units get free actions, because if it's either adjacent to a headquarter or stacked with the headquarters, it gets a free action. So there are several things you can do as long as you're not disrupted. You can attack by firing at a Japanese position. So let's just say, for example, I wanted to fire these units at this Japanese position here. I could do that because they're adjacent, so they're within range. And this guy over here, because he's been reduced twice, he actually does not have his 2 range anymore. He's only got a 1 range, so he can't attack that one. And this guy can't either. So that's that took 2 steps of damage in landing and through the fire phase of the Japanese. So this guy here, he would have a 7, and then we have a 2 from this guy, and then we have a disrupted unit. So we would have 9 that we could add, and then you can have the headquarters also add its. It would be nice if I could stop knocking all these units around here. Probably shouldn't touch all these guys. So we would have a total of 9 possible strength points to attack this unit, and then you reveal it when you attack it so that we would know what it is. So if we flip this guy over, okay, he's got 2 strength points. He's got no depth marker. What depth markers do, this is a depth marker. What that does is it gives them additional strength. So we know we have, it requires a machine gun. That's what the MG indicates. So we would look to see, now this is a full strength company, so it's going to have the machine gun requirement, which then means I can use the headquarters firepower as well and make it a 12. So, so now we have like a 12-2 on the attack. And what you do then is there's a chart here, which indicates what the US strength compared to the Japanese defense strength. You also have to take into account their terrain. And that to me looks like, it's not swamp, so that must be rough. So so that 2 becomes a 3, so we're attacking 12-3, which is a 4-to-1 ratio. So Japanese unit alone, it gets eliminated. Because he's got a red background indicates elite units, like this unit here. This one has a white background. White background's regular unit, not elite. So an elite unit can withdraw when defeated in an attack like that. So he's going to withdraw. So it says within 2 hexes. This is the closest. So he's going to go here, and he goes back to being face down. Okay. Now there's no advance after firing. Okay. So we know this guy can't fire. Or couldn't fire at them. They could fire here. But with a strength of 4, that's pretty risky. Probably too risky for my blood. I don't think I would do that. We're just gonna we're just going to leave that one be, I think. And so we'll move up the chain here. Now we have this unit, and we have two, but we have a disrupted unit there. So let's attack. We're going to attack. We flip him over. He's a 2, which becomes a 3. So that's going to be a 2-to-1. So 2-to-1, JD, Japanese units disrupted. Okay, so they get disruption. And Japanese disruption is here. I'm going to drop this on him. So he's disrupted. Okay, this unit has taken its action. We're going to move these guys up here. And yep, the only unit that could have fired is that red unit, but it's disrupted, so it can't fire. So I can break these guys up to avoid taking that. So we're going to take these 2, these 3, and they're just going to move up 1 hex. So they move into a steady fire. So that probably is going to be a movement under fire. So since these guys moved from this hex, or rather this hex to this hex, they're moving from a steady fire to from an intense fire rather to a steady fire. We flip a card and we look at the colors, and they do have blue and green. So blue is there and so is green. They are subject to fire. We look for the triangle. This unit has the triangle, so they're going to take damage, and they're going to end up here. But we now don't have to worry about the stacking limit. So now we got these guys in the same situation. I guess we're going to have to do this again and take fire again. But we're going to move here. So we're moving from basically blue to a non-steady fire. We do have blue, and the symbol's the triangle. So we're going to take a step loss because we had blue. All right, so we're going to get a disruption. Put this here, move them there. Their movement is done. You use your entire movement allowance when you make that kind of move under fire, is what that's called. Okay, so now we can use, I'm going to use this guy here, who has a 7. He's got Browning, Demolition, and Radio. So we'll flip this guy over. And they say radio and machine gun. So we don't have that with these 2 units. But we might have it over here. So we're going to have this unit join in since it's undiminished so far. We're going to have it join in and throw its 7 firepower in with the 7 over here. And the 3 from the headquarters gives it 10. That's 17 to 2 plus swamp. It's half. The U.S. strength is half, so that's 2. 17 divided by 2, so it's going to be 8. It's going to be 4-to-1. So now again, we're looking at 3-to-1 JE. So again, it's an elite unit. So it can move to a position within 2 hexes, but if it's already occupied, then it becomes subject to the Japanese stacking limit. These are all going to be infantry units, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm going to peek. Yep, infantry. You can see actually I didn't need to peek, so I shouldn't have done that. But the symbol of what the unit is on the back. So we know this is an infantry unit. It can't retreat to that because it would create an overstack. So that unit's going to get eliminated. But elite units go into the Japanese elite unit eliminated box, which means they can actually come back, I believe. So again, we can't advance, but that will help keep the that helps because it removes a Japanese position from there. And I will use I guess I can follow on advance since I didn't use that unit. I only used this one. And I keep knocking stuff over. God, this is what happens, right? I should be using tweezers, but I'm terrible with tweezers. I can't work my tweezers all that well, so that's how we end up in this situation. All right, so that guy's not moving. This guy can't move. We'll move this guy up because he can move. And this guy can move as well. So we'll just do that just to kind of clear things up a little bit. All right, now we move up the coast. Over here, we have a 3-step infantry, so that would be 7 plus 2 would be 9 to attack this guy, and he is in woods, and that would halve their attack strength, so we go from a 9 to a 4. I don't like those odds all that much. Here we have clear terrain, so that's a much better spot to be attacking, I think, because clear terrain has no negative impact on anything. Doesn't improve the Japanese, and it doesn't hurt the Americans. So, looking at it from that standpoint, we have a 7 here. We're going to flip this guy. Okay, so he requires a bazooka. We have a full strength unit here. Plus this is a 9. So it's going to become a 4-to-1 attack, and we do have a bazooka here. So we'll resolve that 4-to-1, which means it's going to be eliminated. Because again, 4-to-1 is greater than 3-to-1. Japanese unit alone, no depth marker. JE means Japanese unit defeated. Now, since he's not elite, he's got a white background. That means he has to be eliminated. So we just remove him, and he's out. Now we're going to take this unit with the headquarters. So we'll go 10 and 17 attacking this guy here. And it's another, now that's clear terrain. So I have the unit here, but I don't have to do that here. So it's a massively overpowered attack. They lose as well. So that's going to finish off these stacks. We'll come over here again with the headquarters and the adjacent units. We can attack. So we have 9, and that gives, yeah, we're just going to flip this guy's in woods, so again it's going to be halved, so a 9 would go down to a 4. Let's go for it. Okay, so CC means close combat. Now again, he's got close combat really only means you can only attack for every requirement, you move to the next higher row. So we go from a 2-to-1 to a 3-to-2, since we don't have the close combat. Because do we have close combat? I don't think we do. That means you have to actually assault it, but now that it's revealed, we can assault it. So this is just going to be an NE, which is a no effect. Nothing happens. Right, so these two they've now used their thing. This has a 3 because it's just the headquarters. The other guy's disrupted. Now we look at so he's a 7 with a 3. That would be a 10. That's again wood, so it's going to be a 5, and he's a 2. And he needs flamethrower, which the headquarters has. That does not have it. So 10 to 2. Woods gets halved, so it's 5 to 2. You would round that down. It becomes 2 to 1. Japanese defeated. So, well, JD means disruption, actually. Japanese units disrupted, so this guy's going to get disrupted. Drop that on there. So now he's disrupted. Now, so they're done. We move on over here. So there's an 8 there. We're going to attack this guy. He's in woods as well, so it's going to get halved. So we will do, and it's a 2, and he's elite, and he has the close combat. So 8 halved is 4. 4 to 2 is 2 to 1. It gets shifted a row up. It becomes no effect. But it does have an effect in that we now know we need to assault him on the next turn. So that was this stack. So now we're going to do these 2 stacks. And these, you can't attack the same hex twice. So I can't now I know what he is. I can close combat. I can't do that. So these 2 basically don't really have anything to do. I don't want to move them, because if I move them, they become subject to the movement under fire, since they're both in the firing range of this guy here. So what we will do is move over here, and this is the second battalion of the 6th Marines. This is 3rd Battalion on this side. So what we're going to do here is we are going to attack this guy. We have 8. He's in woods, so it's going to get halved to a 4. So that's a 4 to 1. We need the bazooka requirement, which we have, thank God. So that 4 to 1 is going to mean he's going to get eliminated. So he's out. And that's this stack done. Now these guys, well, we have 8 here, so we're going to go for it. It's going to get halved to a 4. So now we've got a 1-to-1 situation. But he's full power, so he will have the flamethrower and the machine gun. So it's 1-to-1. And in a 1-to-1, you get a D+/R, which means the Japanese get a depth marker, and you reveal the depth marker and recalculate the attack. So this is actually kind of bad. I wasn't expecting there to be a 4 under there. Let's put it that way. So it becomes, he gets a CC2 depth marker. He already has CC, and oh wait, that's the wrong unit, sorry. It's this guy up here. So he gets a CC and a 2. So now it becomes a 6 to 4. Which still doesn't change anything. So we get a no effect, basically, or a disruption. Because it's 6 to 4. Well, he has a CC, right? Yeah, so we don't meet it, so we get shifted up 1, and that becomes a no effect. So there's no effect here either. We do know there's a depth marker under there now, though. And so that ends the U.S. action phase. So now we would go through and remove the disruptions at the end of the U.S. action phase, and we also will need to do the landings here for these engineer units. So we look for the disruptions and we remove them. All right. I don't have any overstacking left. I managed to avoid that at least. Because at the end of the U.S. action phase, if you have an overstack situation, all those units become disrupted, and that doesn't come off until at the end of the next action phase for the U.S. So they'd be through the whole next turn, they would be disrupted. All right, so now we have to flip for our landings for these guys. And I'm going to start down here this time. All right, so we get blue, which we do have. He's in the middle, so he's going to land here. So he's going to take a hit. Okay. Then we do another one. Purple. So he's going to avoid damage. That's green, which is going to take damage. That does have green on it. I can see it. So there's that one. Blue. Not a great place for him to land. Red. Just bring the whole deck over here. Purple. Does have purple. This over. Okay. Red. No red. Blue. No blue. All right. All right, so that will end the U.S. action phase. So then you go to the raid phase, but that gets skipped during during the first 4 turns. So we go to the end of turn phase. We're going to take all the cards off my track that I had here on the track, which you guys can't see. Move all cards from the card track to the discard pile. So here's our discard pile. Move the phase marker back to the beginning of the turn. At the end of the... Oh, it's not a PM game turn yet. So we're going to move up 1. So now we're on turn 2. Turn 2. So now I have to load my my next wave of landing craft in, and we'll start this all over again by landing even more units. And then I'm going to have to move them off the beach, which is going to be somewhat challenging because we've got some pile-ups going on in certain spots here. But for now, I'm actually going to sign off and end this as part 1, and then we will pick up with part 2 to continue in the not too distant future. But for now, I am Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And a big thank you for watching. And until next time, happy gaming.